I never know what part of my opening jam I'm going to actually open to because it's just like rolling continuously in the background of my PC all day and I crank it back up. And that was like the chill part of the jam. Welcome to Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball, everybody, presented by FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm Dan Vespris and I am joined by Alex Burns of Rotoballer. I'm having actually a full Rotoballer recording studio morning here for me. And by studio, I mean, of course, my bedroom with a cardboard sheet behind me. Alex, you can find on the Twitters at A Burns Hoops, ABURNS Hoops. Welcome back to the show, my good man. We're going to talk about your dudes today. You ready to talk about some dudes?
I'm fired up. I got a bunch of dudes to talk about today. I'm ready to go.
Everybody, please subscribe. You guys know the drill at this point. Hit that button, however you're taking in the content. I got to ask. If you don't ask, nobody's going to do it. So you got to ask. Alex, we don't have a set list for today's show. You have basically like an indefinite list of names, and we're just going to get to whatever we get to. So, where do you want to start?
Let's start with Devin Booker. I love Devin Booker this year. I am finding myself getting him in a lot of drafts. I've heard you talk about this, and I feel the exact same way. Top 5 pick for me in fantasy is where I want to be. Anything between like that 6 to 10 range, I hate it. But Devin Booker makes me get through it, should I say? Because
you can will your way through.
yeah, I can will my way through it. It's not obviously what I want to do, but when Giannis is taken most of the time at 5, and people go into like some aggressive punt strategies with Giannis, that kind of marks like a teardrop off for me. And then you have the Cade Cunninghams, the Anthony Davises. I'm actually finding myself taking a lot of Devin Booker in those spots. We all know what Devin Booker's been able to do in years past when Chris Paul missed time and he had to play like de facto point guard role for the Suns. He just has a lot of upside this year. We've seen it in preseason. They actually just finished a game this morning. I got up and I saw there was a score.
Yeah, it was a game.
I was like, what? Yeah, I mean, he 5 assists in that game. Didn't play a full allotment of minutes, but like 9 assists in the first preseason game in 27 minutes. I think he's gonna have a career year in assists, and he's always going to be somebody that can get you that 25-point mark. But this year, and this is why I'm a little bit higher on him than consensus, is you looked at his 3-point shooting last year. He was good from 2, but threes, it was like a career low. I think it was like one of the lowest years he had from behind the line in over 5 years. I think we could see some positive regression in that area. And I think once that happens, I think his entire offensive game will become a little bit more healthier. And then you add in the assist boost, and I think we could be looking at a first-round guy this year for Devin Booker.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. And I know we agree on this one. I have Booker. He's not the next guy I take after Giannis, but he's behind like Harden in a turnover build if you wanted to go that direction, and like Anthony Edwards basically because of the durability. Then I got Booker right after that. I like you. I'm not huge into the take a Trae Young and double punt right out of the gate or whatever. I like the idea that you can get a guard in Booker who's going to get you 7+ assists. And yeah, he's not like defensive stats. You're going to have to figure that part out. But he's not so bad in steals that you can't recover from it. Like with some of these guys, they're so bad in a category that it's going to be really tough to recover from it. And so you get a guard with a good field goal percent, most likely, if the 3-pointer, if that number comes back. I put it up on the screen for YouTubers. He was at 33% last year. He was 36 the year before that, 35. He's at a 38 a couple times in his career. That pulls his field goal number back up to 47, 48, 49 he's done before. And no Kevin Durant, no Bradley Beal. Like, how much is he really going to bow to Jalen Green on this team? This is all Booker's club. So I'm with you. I just like the idea of starting a team where you don't have to punt after your first round pick. You can see what the second round brings to you, the third round brings to you. And then if you want, maybe you could consider a punt. I still think, and I don't mean to go too far off on tangential thoughts here, I still like the idea of just taking your favorite player in like the first 7 or 8 rounds and seeing if something is getting punted at that point. But that's a discussion for a different day. Yeah, I'm with you on Booker. I don't have a whole lot of devil's advocate to play here other than to say, Alex, are you at all worried about Phoenix being terrible this year?
Not really, because I think they're in such a bad spot as a franchise with draft picks and equity and all that stuff that I don't think tanking will do them any good. Like I don't think their picks they traded away for Durant and for Beal and all that stuff. I don't have it in front of me, but I don't. It's not one of those situations where like, hey, let's tank this year and then we have like a top 5 pick. That's all gone. They're just kind of in no man's land. Um, I could say on the flip side to that, their playoff schedule, if you do follow, like if you're on Yahoo default playoff schedule, I don't know if this is the case, but I know Josh Lloyd's a big advocate for starting your playoffs. I think it's like the first week of March in
Yeah.
your leagues, and they have like a 5-game playoff week in there. So I mean, there's things that kind of, if you're choosing between like a Harden or a Trey Young or a Devin Booker or Anthony Davis, in my opinion, I don't like to take risk in the first round, and Davis has some risk. Um,
Some.
that's like a tiebreaker for me. I look at playoff schedule and I'm like, oh, well, Devin Booker, for ending playoffs this date has this schedule. So I'm not, I mean, all of that stuff outweighs any concern about like tanking or being shut down or any of that.
Let's go to player number 2. Talking to Alex Burns at A Burns Hoops of Rotoballer. Where are we headed?
Player number 2 is really interesting. And I think we're going to have a good discussion on this. I drafted this guy really early in the Locked On Fantasy Bowl, but I'm going to talk about Tyrese Maxey. Um,
I
there,
like Maxey too, by the way, so we're mostly going to agree. But we'll knock him around a little bit here. I can play some devil's advocate.
the crazy thing is I can play devil's advocate with myself too on that. But there's something about Tyrese Maxey this year that's so alluring to me in fantasy. Um, I drafted him, like I had a pick in the Locked On Fantasy Bowl, like the turn, like 12, 13, round 1, 2 turn. And I picked him first pick of the second round. I paired him with James Harden. He led the NBA in minutes per game last year. There's a lot of question marks about Paul George, Joel Embiid to start the season. There's always question marks about Embiid. Jared McCain's out for a period of time. I just think Tyrese Maxey is going to handle a large lion's share workload again this year. And I'm just all in on somebody like that. I mean, he's durable. He's going to play most games. I mean, he's going to play 35, 36 minutes a game. Get you good value in threes, field goal percentage, free throws. I mean, he's just somebody that I think checks a lot of the boxes. Steals were really high last year, so I could see that coming down a little bit. I think he had like 1.8 steals. So that's something that gives me a little bit of pause. But really, I just find myself drafting a lot of Tyrese Maxey, more so in the early second round than like later second round. So I don't know if like I'm higher than most people, if you guys see something that I don't see in that or what, but
No, I generally agree with you on this one. I've got him more at like the 14, 15, 16 range, which is also, I think, earlier than consensus, but like he fits a lot of builds too, with so many of the guard type guys injured for the whole year. You got Kyrie gone, you got Halliburton gone, you got Dame gone. Like Tyrese Maxey becomes more valuable because of how few Maxey-esque stat lines are even available out there right now. Now, I guess the devil's advocate side of it, if we're going to try to talk negatives, is what if we actually have a slightly healthier Joel Embiid this year? Or flip side, what if Embiid and Paul George never really do show up and the team is awful again? I'm not that worried about either of those things, and it sounds like you aren't either.
not really. And I mean, I know in years past with Maxey, he tends to almost play better when Joel Embiid's on the floor. Like just from an efficiency standpoint, it seems like he gets
Yep.
just to his spots a little bit. So I actually do want Joel Embiid to be healthy. It's not like I want him to just kind of be the usage king and here's 35, 36% usage and you're inefficient. I actually want Joel Embiid to be healthy. I think they're going to be very cautious with Joel Embiid this year. But yeah, that's the only thing too that I think about is like if Joel Embiid misses most of the year, Paul George isn't there, and we are having another season like last year. Like, is the efficiency going to be a little bit of a concern too? Like, where does that land if those guys aren't out on the court? But again, like that's the only thing, in my opinion, that's stopping me from going in the first round and getting him. I know Thunder Dan, you just had him on your show, and he has him ranked pretty high. I'm not as high on Maxey like in rankings, but if I knew Joel Embiid was like healthy and there was no risk, I probably would be fine reaching into the first round to grab him.
Yeah, I know Kingy just did a mock here on this channel where he got Maxey at 11 and was perfectly happy about it. So, yeah, I mean, it's a weird mixed bag. I think a lot of folks are afraid of perhaps another tank year, but I don't think the Sixers want to throw another season away. So that's not a thing that I'm super concerned with. And what you brought up, Alex, is right on the money. Like, Maxey's not the guy that loses out when Joel Embiid is around. It's literally everyone else beneath him that loses out. But we've seen for a decade and a half now, when there are these superstar-laden teams, the top two guys usually get theirs, and then it's usually the third guy that gets kind of aced out a little bit. And that third guy was going to be Paul George if he actually gets himself right at any point. So, no massive fears on Tyrese Maxey either. You and I agree on this one also, which means before we get to player number 3, what you got cooking these days? It's promo time. Uh-oh, did I just lose you?
What'd you say?
Oh, what? It's promo time. I didn't lose you. Thank goodness. Oh, what do you got going on right now? I want to hear what's up.
That's so funny. I thought you were rolling into an ad for Old Man Squad.
Promo. No, your promo. It's your promo awesome. Time.
Man,
you don't have to sit through mine. I'm going to do those after you're done.
That's so funny. No, just content. Most of my stuff, if you want to see what I'm working on, just follow me on Twitter at @AburnShoops. Everything that I do is linked to my Twitter. But yeah, just cranking out content for Rotoballer. I love talking fantasy basketball, hopping on your show, hopping on other people. I just love this season.
It's a good time of year right now.
It's the best. So really just follow me on Twitter and you'll find all my content. I have a couple articles. I do rankings. I do projections. A lot of little things like that to kind of get you ready for your drafts and into the season.
All right. Player number 3. Bring us back into the fantasy fold here.
I want to have somebody that we can have a little dialogue on. So I'm going to just
see if we can argue about someone.
Yeah. For the sake of just arguments, let's talk about Paolo Banchero.
Oh, you're going to get me fired up. Now you're just trying to get me mad.
I am.
All right. Let's do this thing.
So obviously there's a lot of weaknesses when you're talking about a 9 category kind of player. There's a lot of holes in his game. The free throws, the turnovers, the lack of true defensive stats. I'm just looking at him and doing projections and stuff for him this year. He slots out somebody that I have in the 3rd, 4th round. And I know that's a little bit earlier than he's usually gone. I've seen him go this year earlier than that in some spots, but he's just somebody that I found myself drafting a lot of. I was in a draft a couple of weeks ago and I took him, I think in the 3rd round, like in the late 20s, which is the earliest that I've ever taken him. Really, I just think it's okay to bake in a little bit of progress in a player of his caliber who, obviously every player works on their game, but I think improvement is definitely possible in a couple of the areas that he struggled in, especially free throws. I also think Desmond Bane being there really just opens up the floor for him. And if you think about how bad of a 3-point shooting team they've been over the last few years with Franz Wagner, having a hitch in his shot. That's been the big question about, can he turn into a true floor spacer? The answer has been no so far. And I think Desmond Bane coming in just opens up that entire offense. And so I think because he can shoot, because he can space the floor, I think Paolo could have a little bit more open driving lanes. I think he could be a little bit more efficient. I don't really think Bane is going to come and take away usage or any real scoring from Banchero. It's still his role, but I just think we could be looking at a little bit of a leap year for Banchero. I'm still not getting him in top 2 rounds, but somebody in the 3rd round, I'm okay looking his way this year.
So I'm not. Just
okay.
Full disclosure. But I'm not gonna be a dick about it. That's the real key here. If you're punting free throws, I will grant a little more grace on this one. And if it's 8-cat, I will grant a second level of grace, because 8-cat punt free throw last year, he was number 55. So if you bake in an improvement then in field goal percent, that pushes him up into that 3rd, 4th round range. But I just I can't take the shot without the free throw punt, because if it doesn't get better, it was one of the worst impact categories in all of fantasy basketball. So to me, my fear on Paolo is what if it doesn't, basically. If it gets a little bit better, yeah, I mean, that starts to get you there, but you kind of need him to get up to about 78, 79% at the free throw line if you're still trying to attack that category, for him to get to that 4th round valuation. Now, that's not to say that it can't happen. Brandon Ingram is an example of somebody who basically like fixed all of his fantasy warts in one off season, but it is relatively uncommon. So for me, I'm probably not going the Paolo route unless I've started with someone like Giannis. I think they're a really interesting match if you can get him partway through. Like you go Zion somewhere in there, you can go Paolo, and suddenly you're loading up on points and you get some more threes and you get some assists out of Paolo without like you're getting these out of players that are excuse me, big man eligible. This is what happens to my voice when I try to do a bunch of shows right in a row. So I think there are really interesting builds that incorporate him. I'm just not much of a punt guy, so he's a guy that's too scary for me. Is that a fair way to disagree without being a butthole?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it just comes down to kind of what you're anticipating a little bit. My thing is just when he's up on the draft board, and obviously like I draft by my rankings and you probably do the same. I just don't like a lot of the people they're going around. Like I just think he has the
Yeah,
most upside.
that part's true. That area sucks.
Yeah, and you can kind of just kind of like check the boxes for everybody on like risk, and there's this and there's that. And I just think Paolo possesses a lot of upside that a lot of those guys don't at that point in the draft. And I'm okay investing in that this year at that cost. Like I think he's going early ADP has him like really early 3rd round. I think I'm okay taking him most of the time in like the back end of the 3rd round, early 4th. But yeah, I think that can happen. And I also, just to push back a little bit on the free throw thing, just because like Giannis has poor free throws, and the thing, it's not even that poor. It's just that he takes a billion of them a game, and it just drags your value down. You can still win and be competitive in free throws, even with a Giannis or even with like a Paolo. It doesn't mean you have to, at least in my opinion, doesn't mean you have to like punt free throws just to be in on it. And obviously you have to make up for it. But I don't know if he was shooting
It's
40%.
easier, I think, to make up for Paolo only because of draft where they go in a draft.
Right.
Because some of the best free throw shooters are off the board in the first 12 picks. So if you go Giannis there, you don't have access to those guys. But if you start with a great free throw shooter, Paolo his pre-rank now is 40. I was going to throw where Yahoo moved him down the board a bit. Because remember, it was like 16 a week ago, and now he dropped considerably. Here's the guys that are going around him on the Yahoo board.
Right.
Like there's some funky options mixed in there. Like once you get past him a little bit as well, but like you could start with Shea, and I don't know that you'd want to necessarily put a big dent into your free throw, but like a Shea Paolo team is still better than average at free throw shooting. But if you start with Giannis, obviously you don't have access to Shea. Now you're looking at guys that are going, mid to late 2nd round and beyond. You kind of have to stack good free throw shooters. And so there's that, like, can I get the really good one to pair with a guy who's not as good? You also probably want to make sure you get a center that's not as awful as well. So like Paolo is kind of the one bad free throw shooter, and then you can make up for it a little more easily.
Yeah, that makes sense. Or yeah, totally. And it's just about, and you said something really good early on the pod too that I love that it's totally okay to like start your draft and just kind of see how it falls, and not being like, I have to do this and I have to punt this and I have to only look at these players.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you fall into stuff like that and you don't even mean to, and it's just the best value, and like it's totally fine. I think sometimes people like handicap themselves into, I have to punt, and it's just not the case.
Yeah. Don't jam yourself into a shape that doesn't fit, because you also, and this is like, you're going to get me soapboxing here about the guard build, but like the guard build to me is so hard to pull off right now because everybody wants to do it. And there's like one guy per round that actually fits that build. And so 4 teams are all trying to get the same one dude. And that makes it so hard. But if you just take the guy that you really like as a value, you can worry about some of that stuff later on. Anyway, sorry, I took us way the hell off course here. Alex, who's player number 4?
I'm like I said, I'm trying to spice these up, and I want to have fun. And
save me from myself. Save me from my own tangential brain thoughts.
Nobody wants to talk about Josh Giddey or Emin Thompson. Everybody talks about those guys. I'm trying to look at some of the guys that don't get as much love. Let's talk about Mark Williams.
Oh, this is a fun one. Yeah, let's talk about Mark Williams.
Really interesting guy for me this year. I have him in a few spots. He's going in like the 70s and the like 80s. I don't know what the early ADP is. Let me pull it up really quick. But I think he
I know his
is.
pre-rank is 89. I don't have his ADP handy right now.
I have like we'll find it later. But I think last
Yeah,
time I saw it was in like the 70s or the 80s. I just think that's great value right there. And so I'm hammering that a lot. This is a guy that I think has at least top 50 upside if he's getting at least 30 minutes a game, which he probably will, I would imagine. I mean, it's literally the Suns just took over the Charlotte Hornets center rotation from last year. So you essentially have like Nick Richards, Kaman Malawach, and then obviously Mark
found him,
Williams.
by the way.
There he is.
Found him on Yahoo.
84.
84.2 on Yahoo.
I mean, that's amazing value. I mean, like if you look at all these guys, everybody outside of maybe Asar, would you say? Maybe Kalel Ware, if everything breaks right for him, have top 50 upside. I mean, like you're not hammering RJ Barrett,
I am
you
not
know.
hammering RJ Barrett.
I'm
That's
not
true.
either, you know. All those guys, I mean, there's some high upside players there, but like
Yeah, it's a fun
Mark
range.
Williams just sitting there and just like, yes. And by that point, I mean, that's like your seventh or eighth best player. And if he breaks right, I mean, that's a huge win.
I can't like this is one. First of all, I love me some Mark Williams. I do think, and this is like the cop out answer to this question. It almost has everything to do with whether he gets to near this ADP because there's all that physical stuff. We all
Mhm.
know it. You know, the trade voided last year, but like his ceiling from a per game standpoint is so tantalizing. He was
Yeah,
number 40 last year in 26 and a half minutes a game. And if you look down the stretch when he actually like was starting to get healthy and he was playing 28, 29 minutes, he was a third rounder during that time.
it's
Like
crazy. Yeah,
this is a center who hits his free throws. Like both percentages are great. He's actually a pretty good passing big man. He rebounds, he gets steals, he blocks some shots. I know that actual defense is not very good, but like fantasy stats defense is better. It's one of those ones where like he's just on skates and so he gets blocks and steals, but he's not in the right position on defense. But do we think he can make it through the year? And I do either of us, Alex, do you have an I don't have an answer to that question. How can we possibly know?
don't know, but I do think at this point in the draft, I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay now considering if I've drafted Zion or if I've drafted like Embiid in the 50s or even a Kawhi or something, I'm probably not combining the risk with a Mark Williams or somebody
Fair.
that has a little bit. But if I have a relatively great team and this is more of like a utility piece or a second center or you know a flex spot, like absolutely. I mean that's a league winner type pick. It's honestly like it's kind of similar to like Ivica Zubac last year. In some ways, you get him around pick 100. And he played 33 minutes a game and was like a top 30 guy. And he was a
Mm-hmm.
league winner because of where you got him. This has the exact same framework or the thought process of what made Zubac really good in fantasy last year. So I'm not saying Mark Williams is like as good as Ivica, but just a very similar, like when you get a guy in this range who has the upside to finish in the top 40 range is rare. And I'd like to hammer that every day that I can in
Yeah,
drafts.
I don't think I can really argue with you much. Talking to Alex Burns at A Burns Hoops on social media, would you? And this is just something that popped into my head mid discussion. Would you consider taking another center the following round as almost like a just in case Mark Williams only plays 42 games kind of thing, or is that galaxy braining it too much?
Probably galaxy braining it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
no.
you certainly can. Um, I don't think you need to feel like you have to. I think there's a lot of really good options later in the double digit rounds that you could probably target. And like, I mean, if we're thinking about it for the sake of conversation, Kalel Ware is going in the similar range as Mark Williams. If he falls to the next round, would you rather grab Kalel Ware or would you rather grab like Isaiah Jackson, you know, 20 picks, 30 picks later in the
Yeah, you go
draft?
Jackson.
You know, similar upside if everything breaks right, I assume. Maybe they offer some different stuff, but I don't think you have to. I think there's a lot of good value that you can kind of make up for it.
Let's squeeze out one more player. We got time for one more. Where do you
Oh,
want to
there's
go for number 5?
so
We'll complete the handful here.
there's so many to choose from. I have so many guys. I'm just
I
looking at
mean, you could do it.
ADP.
You want to lightning round it? You want to just like list a bunch and we'll talk about one?
Let's talk just really quick lightning round. Let's talk about a couple names that are like
Okay.
late round, double digit flyer kind of guys that have upside. First one, Kyle Filipowski. I like Kyle Filipowski this year. Was amazing in summer league. John Collins is gone. Nurkic is there. I think Nurkic is going to play a little bit more than people think, probably. Really just depends on what they're going to do with the roster moving forward. Is Lauri Markkanen going to be there? Is Ace Bailey going to play the small forward? Does that push Lauri Markkanen into the 4? Like, how does that all shake out? But I think there is a really good opportunity for Filipowski at some point this year to roll as like a top 50 guy. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
I was just gonna let you lightning round at this point. I got
cool.
Yeah, keep cooking, baby.
Filipowski, one, Tari Eason. I really like Tari Eason.
That. Oh, love that one so much.
I feel like he's one of the best values in drafts right now because he might not start, but it's like he was like a top 60-ish guy last year in 25 minutes a game. So it's like, what are we expecting him to just play like 18 minutes a game this year? I don't get it. So, I mean, I don't think he's getting 30. I don't have him projected for that. But even if he's around like that 27, 28 minute a night range, I mean, this is a top 60 guy easily. Not worried about him being rested on back-to-backs. There's a handful of those. They don't have their first back-to-back till December. It's not a big deal for me in drafts.
Yep. With you.
Let's think of somebody else. I got one. Kyshawn George. Washington Wizards. Somebody that I'm taking with a late round pick almost all the time. Just one of my last couple of picks in drafts. I just feel like the Wizards are going to be like the cockblocky team of the year with like McCollum and Chris Middleton, and just there's more people on that roster that I can't think of right now that are really annoying.
That was PG, by the way. That can go on terrestrial radio. You're good.
Okay, great. I didn't know we were working with. I just think George has a lot of upside in fantasy. He did really well when they traded Kyle Kuzma away. We have to see what they're going to do with, the Chris Middleton minutes and how that's going to shake out. But if this guy sniffs 30 minutes a game, I mean, he's probably going to be a must roster guy in 12-team leagues. So that's somebody that I'm in on too. Let me do one more.
Ooh, you got another one.
One more
All
guy.
Right, I'm ready.
One more, and it's going to be a late round sleeper. We don't want to talk about like the Neemias Quetas, the guys like that. I'll talk about Kyshawn George. Let's just talk about Kalkbrenner for the Charlotte Hornets.
Ooh, that is a late flyer.
Late flyer. Just somebody that I think can get you blocks and threes. Mason Plumlee and Moussa Diabate is there. Moussa started their game last night. All three of the centers were active. So I don't think this is going to be like somebody you draft and you're immediately like starting. But I think he could at some point in the season be like a top 100 kind of guy. One of those big men that could get you threes and blocks. I like him a lot in drafts. I'm trying to think of anybody else.
You've done, what are we at now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. That's a solid number. Did you want to go 9? You could be done with 8 if you like.
My strategy, and I don't know and I'm actually interested to see what your strategy is in drafts too. But my strategy in drafts is like, I obviously follow my team through the first, 10 rounds, and we're, if it's a pump build, if it's whatever it is, I'm trying to follow and create it as close as I can. Once we get to like the double digit rounds, which might seem early to some, is when I start wanting to kind of throw a dart a little bit. Not really 10, 11, but more like 12, 13, 14. I'm really just like, I'm not even looking at ADP. I'm not even really looking at like best available. I'm just throwing darts. And so I get a lot of these guys like Filipowski, and I get a lot of like the Kyshawn Georges, and I get a lot of these guys, and I get clowned for it sometimes on social media. And I'm like, I would rather pick these guys than like Aaron Neesmith, who might be dropped in, a month. Somebody that could win my league.
It's funny that you brought that up, because I was just kind of retooling, and I'll throw it up on the screen. This is not intended to be a self promo in any way, but it's going to probably come off that way. I have my free buckets. I always talk about my buckets on the show, but it's basically my rank board. Which, here, let me display this, and it's going to be hard for people to see because it's not zoomed in all that much. It's a free Google sheet. Everybody can access it. It's in the show description. I'm doing everything for free as long as humanly possible. Don't even worry about the names so much as what I wanted to point out was that I have down here the flyer tiers. This is not totally done, but then I actually have a bucket in between them. And I think that's actually what you're highlighting, which is that sometimes it's more fun to take the flyer, even if you know there's a guy that falls into a like specific bucket range of value. And an example of this from my page here is like, I would rather go Tari Eason as like a tier 1 flyer over Jaden McDaniels, who's probably a more reliable basketball player. We saw Jaden take a step forward last year, but when the Wolves were healthy, he still kind of sat around the top 100, a little bit behind that. When someone went down, that was when we saw him push a little bit earlier. I'd rather take a little bit of a shot, even if you're like, Dan, I can guarantee you that Jaden McDaniels is going to be number 110 for the whole year and he's going to be really good and healthy. Okay, fine. But there's a tier of guys that have higher upside, lower floor
100%.
that I would look at before that. And so I think that's what you're talking about here, which is like, I'd rather take a tier 2 flyer than a guy who would be in like the reliable 125 range, because those guys just don't really move the needle. Like,
no,
you could make an argument maybe a little more in head to head because you just want to accrue stats as often as humanly possible. But yeah, and not in a draft. You can get those guys off the wire. Pick them up off the wire. There's 14 of them there every week. So yeah, I agree with you. Take a shot. Expert drafts, you probably have to start taking your shots by the 10th round. Intermediate and more novice, you probably start taking your shots in the 11th. Like, because the interesting guys dry up at a certain point. I'm with you on that. Like, my draft strategy is just not worry too much about punt stuff as long as humanly possible. If I'm in a roto league by about the 4th round, I'm looking to make sure that I'm not leaving any categories completely uncovered. I want to make sure that like there's a well-roundedness to it. But head to head, I'm not really looking super hard at my categories until like the 7th or 8th round to see what did I do. And again, I don't want to monologue too long. Like, I want this is the show where I want you to be the one, like, this, we show your wares here. But I really love the idea of just building a team where I try to get a win in every round as hard as I can, go for that. And then in December, I look and see, okay, what's my team like legitimately good and bad at? And if I'm like 3rd from the bottom in something, I'll take whatever players I have that are even decent in that and see if I can swap them out for somebody that just fits a little bit better. And that's, to me, that's so much easier than like trying to hunt for the perfect punt build guy in every round, because those guys dry up really fast. But I took longer than I intended to answer your question, but yeah. I agree. The short version is, yeah, sometimes it's way more fun to throw a dart than to take the safe plotter.
I mean, that's how you win your league. In my opinion, that's just the way that I look at it. Like, if I draft I'm trying to think, if I draft Buddy Hield in the 13th, 14th round, last pick, I know, or something like that, over a Reed Shepherd, I'm probably dropping Buddy Hield at some point in the season to stream anyways. And it's like, what if Reed becomes top 100? It makes way more sense to do that.
Yep.
You know, so
totally.
I'm with you.
Yep. We're aligned on that one. He's Alex Burns of Rotoballer. He's at A Burns Hoops over on social media. Check him out immediately. He is officially off the hot seat. He gave you, did we do a 9th or did we do 8? I forget. Doesn't matter.
I don't know.
He gave you just under 10 targets. Those are Burns' dudes. Thanks, my man. Appreciate you coming on.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I'm only giggling because of something that happened as I was sending Alex back to his normal life. This is the day where my dog is getting involved in everything. She tried to get on the bed during the show with Thunder Dan, and in this one, she tried to get off the bed, and that requires going through my backdrop here. So YouTubers would have been treated to something very silly if the camera was rolling. Big thank you to Alex Burns at A Burns Hoops on social media for coming on and bringing you a very solid list of players to target. Remember to check out our friends over at fantrax.com/oldmansquad. It's like playing at Yahoo or ESPN, but they got better commissioner tools. fantrax.com/oldmansquad. Also, and I think I've come up now with a better name for it, The Patreon account that I've set up, it's basically a tip jar. Set it at $1. It's the lowest number they would allow. If you like the fact that I do everything for free forever, there's a spot to say thank you. If you don't, I don't care. Still going to do it. Love you guys regardless. Please subscribe on your way out. That's the biggest thing you can do, and that is always free. At Dan Vespers is where you can find me on social media, trying to do more stuff there already, and obviously we're going to do tons once the season gets started as well, so definitely find me over on Twitter. You can also follow Old Man Squad. That's the feed where you can know when all the shows are dropping. Also, shout out to our buddies at the HOF app. Make you a smarter, better. Download the HOF app today and use promo code SQUAD to get your first week completely free. And if you love it, you can let it ride and you get your first month half off. Again, the promo code at HOF app is SQUAD. This show is also brought to you by FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're thinking about getting down on one of these teams, we talked about Mark Williams earlier on today's show. Do you think Phoenix is going to be bad or good? Their season win total is 31.5. It's pretty low. Can they clear it? I honestly don't know. That number over at FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook. That's a tough one. I truly don't know. I truly don't know. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'm Dan Vespers for Alex Burns here on the Old Man Squad of Fantasy Basketball Podcastery. Weird ending. Who cares? See you guys soon.